Hello, 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 everybody. Welcome back to the Pipeline Podcast, episode 120. Hope everyone is having a great day. Today, I'm joined with a very special guest, a long time in the making, Lillian. How's it going?
Good. It's going well. How are you?
I am good. I'm so excited we were able to make this work.
Yes.
Behind the scenes bit, in the works for a minute now. I remember all the way back in 2022, I reached out to do Turning
Yes.
Red.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
which good thing I didn't do that because I didn't know what I was doing yet. I didn't know all this stuff. So it was probably a miracle you didn't respond and we didn't get that ball rolling. But we tried Inside Out. We tried a couple of other things. I was actually going to reach out for D23 this past year.
Yes.
So I was like, oh, that would have been a really fun one. Happened to land on the 100th episode of the show. I was like, well, maybe I should wait a little bit.
Yeah.
So, but no, like this is my kind of end of the year Disney kind of recap episode. I love Disney. Obviously, I know you love Disney. It's a big part of your brand. And I like, I don't get a big chance to talk about Disney because I often just kind of focus on Marvel and DC, sometimes Star Wars-y kind of things. So I like to kind of get together kind of end of the year and be like, okay, what came out this year? What was good? What was bad? And then kind of looking at next year as well. Because I don't know how you're currently feeling about the company, but I think it's a really weird time to be a Disney fan.
On every end of every spectrum, yes.
Yeah. Oh, it's like loving Disney, and I don't know how you feel, but it's like a toxic relationship where it's like I love this thing. This thing's great. Oh, but the people at the tippy top, maybe I don't love so much. I don't love some of the things they're doing behind the scenes.
I was just like literally right before this, I was writing for no reason, like not for any assignment or anything, like an not educational, but an academic like paper on how to enjoy Disney despite its business practices. And then I felt like I was just like, am I just doing this to make myself feel better? Like, is this just, but anyway, yes, I like to say I love the creative side, but maybe not the business side. Yeah.
No, 100%. Yeah, you're 100% right. And I feel like every year when I do one of these, where I'm like, I love the movies and TV shows, and then the company itself, we could, that's another conversation. Yeah. But you know what? And I think it's kind of an interesting thing where it's like, I think most of the people at Disney are probably good. It's just those like 5, 10, 20 people at the tippy top that were like, those guys, those people I don't love. Yes. Hello, and Marvel fan. Hope you're doing well, and absolutely massive support to everyone in LA and California and the fires that are going on right now. Terrible situation. Hope everyone over there is kind of staying safe and whatever. Not whatever whatsoever. But I hope they're all doing okay. But no, I mean, I think it's very interesting because this week you just started like the Disney college program, right? Yes. That's really cool.
Yeah, so now I'm like tied to Mickey's ball and chain, I guess. I'm limited on what I can say. I'm just kidding. But
yeah. I wasn't sure if I had you on this week if like Mickey would come to my door and not take my teeth, or I don't know. I don't know how that works. Yeah. But no, that's really, really cool. And like again, as like a longtime fan, that must be cool to like, I don't want to dox you, but like live in that area with at Disney, right? Like that's really cool.
Do it, you're automatically doxxed. Plus insane security here, so I think I'm fine.
Sure.
But yeah, it's been great. I haven't started any of the like really actual stuff yet, but I'm living here, which is crazy in and of itself.
Right.
But yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah, I wish you the best of. Like, what do you? And again, I don't know how much you can say, but like, I feel like I don't actually know what it is. Like, what do you do there? Like, what's the whole idea?
Mainly working. That's the big thing. I mean, I do get paid, but a good amount of the pay goes to the rent of this. Like, everyone in the college program lives in the same giant complex thing, and anyway, so I'm gonna be in merchandise. I'm gonna actually be in Disney Springs, so not in the parks, but I can also like trade shifts with people, so I could sometimes be in the parks. But yeah, I'm glad it's merchandise and not like I didn't want to do anything food related. That seems really stressful. But or Custodial. But apparently Custodial is actually pretty good. But anyway, yeah, I'm happy. As of now, I'm happy with where I'm placed.
Amazing. I also like to start the show by asking my guests things that they've been consuming lately in terms of movies and arts and TV shows. And you love comics, you love games, especially. I think you're very much into games. Is there any kind of thing that you've been like consuming lately that you want to kind of shout out?
I rewatched, I mean, this is by no means a first watch, but I rewatched Lilo and Stitch for the first time in ages the other day. And I always know I love it, but then I watch it and I'm like, oh my God, like it's so good. So that's on brand. But also I've been playing Marvel Rivals like everyone and their mother. What else? I haven't watched a TV show in a while, and I want to, because like when I get rolling with a TV show, I like, even if I love it more than anything I've ever seen in my life, like Avatar: The Last Airbender, I was obsessed. I watched half of it, and then I just never finished, even though it's like maybe one of my favorite things ever. So I don't know how to not fall off of things like that, even when I love them, but I'll finish it eventually.
It's so good. I was one of those people that was like, it can't be that good. I don't know. It can't be, and then like in a month, I'm like, oh, that's my favorite thing ever. Like, it's crazy. It's insane. But I mean, Lilo and Stitch is crazy because again, we're heading into like next year, or I guess now this year, which is we're getting the live action Stitch, which is kind of a weird feeling because now we're getting like, before it was like, okay, these are our parents' movies or our grandparents' movies that are getting the reboot treatment. Now it's our treatment. Like now it's our things that we grew up on. That movie came out the year I was born, I think. So it's like a very like generational movie for me. Which is crazy to think that like, oh my gosh, okay, now we're here. Now they're rebooting stuff to cater towards us. So that's gonna be weird.
I think I'm cautiously optimistic. I mean, I'm a lot more positive. We'll probably talk about this later, but I'm a lot more positive than most people on the remakes. But like, there is still a level of fear. But so far so good from what we've seen. I like how he looks. Do you want to talk about this later, or is it now?
No, go ahead. By all means.
I like how he looks a lot. I wish he was a little brighter, but we can live with it. It's fine. And it distinguishes him. And also rewatching the original, there were so many parts where I was thinking, there's an element of it being animated that allows like the jokes of them thinking he's a dog to work.
Right.
Are we just gonna think they're stupid now? Or like when Jumba and Pleakley blending in, like, are they just gonna, I don't know. But also the girl that they cast as Lilo, the interviews,
amazing.
Perfect. So yeah, I'm cautiously optimistic.
Yeah, that's fair. I think like I don't know how I feel about the live action adaptations because like part of me is just like, no, don't reboot and do original blah blah blah. But also I think I've enjoyed more than I haven't, so I'm kind of a big hypocrite when it comes to a lot of that stuff. I guess my stance is always just like I like when they change things up and they do new things and tell me, like I loved Cruella and I loved Christopher Robin and Maleficent and a lot of those guys where it's like, okay, this is kind of more of my cup of tea. But no, I'm curious. Like again, like I think it looks very cool. I think it, just like the look of Stitch looks good. So we'll see. I guess we'll see. But yeah, no. We're just gonna jump into today's news stories. We have some news stories we're gonna be covering today. We had 2 trailers for upcoming live action TV shows. Now I'm not sure if you watch either of these shows, so we'll see if you have any thoughts on this. New trailers for upcoming seasons of The Last of Us and Reacher have been released. Now, are you a fan of either of these 2 shows? Have you seen either of these?
I love The Last of Us, so I saw that trailer, but I've never seen Reacher. But
that's fair. So let's focus on Last of Us then. Like Last of Us, I think is my favorite. It was my favorite TV show of 2023. I adored that. I loved the games. And going into this season, I think there's a very interesting atmosphere of people who haven't played the games, who don't know what's happening, to then people who do know that's happening, or like do know who have played it. And then there's a subsection of that fan base too, of just like who love the second game, who think it's amazing, and then the subsection
Right.
that hate it, and
Mhm.
and also people who know what's going to happen. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, this is
Yeah.
scary. What's your kind of thoughts?
Well, I guess the first thing that comes to mind is I have a personal anecdote that my dad has never played the games, but he loved the first season of the show. And so, like, I feel like I know the future, and he's, like, so excited for the second season. And I love the second game, but
Yeah.
I also know what that means, and so I'm just very excited to see my dad, I guess, to have that shared trauma.
I'm so excited. I'm not excited is not the right word, but like
No, yeah,
I guess I am excited just to see all the reactions to
for sure.
that episode and where they place it. Because if
Yeah,
it's like
right.
episode 2, 3, kind of where it would be in like the game, it's like that's early on.
Yeah,
Like that's
yeah,
it's almost like this like Red Wedding like Game of Thrones event. I'm thinking
yeah,
it's like,
yeah.
oh my gosh, people are ready for what that's going to be. So um but no, I think it's exciting. We officially have a date of April, which is
Mhm.
very exciting. It's nice to have it kind of like on the books. We can kind of speculate on kind of what's to come and all that kind of fun things now that's happening. I also just like that, like, oh man, like this year for TV, I think it's might be one of the best years
I
for
saw a
TV we've had in a
list
long time.
recently of everything, and I was like, I forgot how stacked it is.
Mhm. Yeah, like around that time, it's like Last of Us, Andor, Daredevil.
Oh,
It's like,
oh,
oh, I'm excited. I'm very excited. And then Reacher. You said you haven't seen this one. I like Reacher enough. I think it's good. I
Mhm.
thought season 1's great. Season 2 is kind of a bit of a step down for me. But I like it. I'm excited to kind of see like where they go and what books they adapt and all that kind of mumbo jumbo.
Mhm.
Kind of to see kind of where that goes. Okay, second news story here. Okay, so are you a fan of the Matrix movies at all?
I was just when I was making my top 10 okay, well, I'll just say yes, yes.
Okay.
However, I've only seen the first one,
Okay,
so I need to get
interesting.
on the rest, but I adore the first one. And
Interesting.
I know a good deal of what happens in the other ones, but
Right.
yeah.
Right. Yeah, no. That I mean that was me up until the I guess late last year. Like I had only
Mhm,
seen the first one, and then my mom loves that first one. I'm like, all right, let's
mhm,
rewatch the 2 and 3. I haven't got the 4 yet, but like just
mhm.
kind of to see what happens with all
Yeah,
those. Um there's some kind of interesting Matrix news, I guess, if you will,
really?
this week. I don't know if you've seen this.
No.
Um a new cryptic Instagram post about the
Oh,
Matrix has recently surfaced. So Will Smith on his Instagram posted a Matrix thing that had this whole thing kind of explaining what happened with Will Smith. Back then he was up for Matrix. He was up for the role of Neo, which he didn't go for because he said it didn't fit him, and he went for Wild Wild West instead.
mhm.
And he posts this whole Instagram thing that says "Wake up, Will." And a lot of people are like, what does this mean? Is he going to be in the new Matrix
Mm,
movie? Is he involved in, like, is it a Super Bowl ad? Like, what's it,
yeah,
like, what is this promoting? Just like hypothetically, like, let's just talk
mhm,
hypothetically for a second. If Will Smith was cast in,
mhm.
in a Matrix movie, would that be something you'd be interested in seeing?
I actually, like even though I'm so glad it was Keanu Reeves, and I think he's kind of irreplaceable in that role,
Yeah.
I'm s and I don't have strong feelings on Will Smith in either direction, and that was prior to the whole event,
Right.
but I I honestly think he could pull Neo off. Not now, but, like, in an alternate universe. But, yeah.
Right. No, absolutely. And I think like it'd be interesting because like obviously I wouldn't want it to be Neo. I'd want it to be like a
Right.
new character that he's kind of stepping into the role of and whatever way he would do it. But I do think like I can see why they considered him for Neo. Like
Yeah.
I can see it like it's a very different take on the character. It would have been a different kind of Neo, I think. But I can see
Mhm.
kind of his like stoic action hero
Yeah.
thing that Will Smith does, that how he could kind of pull that off. Um Now, do you think there's any truth to this? Do you think there's anything
Mhm.
going to come out of this? I'm very like this time of year. I'm always kind of very reserved because it's Super Bowl season. A lot of people do their marketing ads.
Yeah.
And like, I think it was this time last year we had the whole Snoop Dogg like done with smoking bit that he did.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, something's up with this. I don't know.
It's kind of like a prolonged April Fool's.
Right.
But for money.
Absolutely.
But, yeah. I don't know. I think Will Smith is also the kind of person that would do this just for fun. For like no reason. So
right.
I'm not sure.
Right. Yeah. I think his comeback has been kind of interesting too, where like everyone was like, well, his career's over, it's done. I'm like, I think he'll be fine. I don't know. It was a slap. I think he's fine. It's whatever. He did Bad Boys. No one gave a shit. No one really cared. But I mean, again, I think Matrix is a big one because I do feel like there are people that are still kind of reserved about kind of welcoming him back to the industry and like the big blockbuster stuff. So could be big for him if that's the direction they want to go.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Next here we've been talking a lot about Batman on the show these last couple of weeks. There's been a lot of Batman Part 2 news, lack thereof news, I guess, for Brave and the Bold and Batman Part 2, and Matt Reeves has been saying a lot of stuff, and this is something, and I've talked a little bit about this in the past year or so. So Matt Reeves teases the villain of the Batman Part 2 will surprise people. Now, I've had a lot of... We've speculated the villain on here a lot. We've said Mr. Freeze and Two-Face and, Court of Owls. Like, those are kind of all things that have been in the speculation. And Matt Reeves have been like, yeah, I'm seeing what everyone's saying. They're all wrong. Everyone's got it wrong. Firstly, I just want to ask, like, if you could choose any villain for that movie, who would you choose? And then I'll ask you, like, who do you think it actually will be?
I had my instinctual answer doesn't make sense anymore because I would say Clayface, but isn't there a Clayface movie happening now?
There's a Clayface movie.
So I highly doubt that.
Yeah.
And also I don't know. I like the Mr. Freeze idea a lot. Yeah. I think the way they could, but maybe that's just because that's what everyone was saying for a while, so I just warmed up to it. That's not the word for Mr. Freeze. But I don't know. I think I'd be happy to see anyone. Just hopefully someone that we haven't seen much of or any of in live action. I think would just anyone from that massive list of people would be interesting.
Right. Yeah, no, I mean, Batman is such a... Like, I think he has the best rogues for a reason because there are so many of them and they're all so deep and powerful and have such a, like, mythos to them. My choice for years was Mr. Freeze because I love that villain. I feel like he's never really been done. Arnold Schwarzenegger, great. I love his puns, but like never really got the actual Mr. Freeze. I felt like a lot of action. Right. So that's something I've always kind of wanted. I've said Two-Face could be cool. I've said Hush could be cool. Right. There's a lot of those. Yeah. But in terms of like not expecting, like I'm wondering how obscure he's running this thing. Is it like right? I'd be there.
Honestly.
I'd be there day one. Screw his grounded, serious take on Batman. Just Condiment King or Kite Man or whatever obscure villain he wants to go with.
All of them teaming up.
Yeah. Hell yeah. I don't know. I'll be curious. Like, I think Court of Owls is still a possibility. Like, I know they're not obscure, but I think that would fit his world very well. His more grounded, his more down to earth, his more run of like real world kind of earth that he's kind of creating over there. But yeah, no, I think that's going to be interesting for sure.
Definitely, yeah.
And yeah, lastly here, and you know what? I didn't really have a take on this because I haven't seen this movie in many, many years. So when this was announced this last week, I was like, oh yeah, this movie does exist. Holes. Yes. A Holes reboot series is apparently in the works for Disney Plus. Are you a fan of Holes at all?
I'm pretty sure the last time I saw it was in class in second grade. So I don't have a strong. Also, I think I'm mixing it up in my head with a movie called Hoot. I don't remember if that was Disney, but it does have Brie Larson in it, and she's like 17 or something. But anyway, Holes. I remember actually a lot of people reading the book. The book was real big in middle school or around then. But I know a lot of people like that movie, especially because of like young Shia LaBeouf or whatever. So I wonder if he would come back. Or I guess if it's a reboot, then no, it would be like a retelling. Then
yeah,
I don't know. It's
I
interesting.
don't. Yeah, it definitely is interesting. I think Disney Plus, to me so far, has kind of been some of the worst of like the reboots
Yeah.
era of movies, because
Mhm.
it's like not only you're rebooting it, you're kind of rebooting it with people who don't care, or who just
Right.
kind of like, it's a property, throw it together, whatever, call it a
Yeah.
day. This being a series is interesting too, because again, I haven't seen it for many years, and it's like,
Yeah.
okay,
I don't know how long you could stretch that out, but
yeah,
interesting. It does feel like this feels like something they've really toned back on, but it feels like the kind of thing that would have been announced as a series in like 2020. Like when they were throwing so many things out there.
right.
I feel like they pulled back so much. So it's wild to hear something like this be announced in this day and age.
Yeah, no, like when when Disney Plus first launched, it's like, okay, new Phineas and Ferb, new High School Musical, new Cheaper by the Dozen, and Home Alone. It's like, okay, I get it, Disney Plus. And then when Bob Iger came back, there seemed to be like a real like, no, these are movies, get them in theaters, lessen
Yeah.
what you're doing on Disney Plus,
Mhm.
create more quality versus quantity, which we haven't seen yet, but I guess that will,
Hypothetical.
we'll see that in 2025 when a lot of
Mhm.
these things come out. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I'll watch this,
Yeah.
or we'll see. I do know the meme. I do know the "I'm tired of this grandpa" meme on
Oh,
TikTok.
yes.
That's too damn bad. But no, it'll be interesting for sure. I'm also curious, like, what Disney Plus looks like in 5 years, because again, I do
Yeah.
think the landscape is changing. Like, I've had my issues with some of the Marvel shows, some of the Star
Mhm.
Wars shows over the years, and I love that we're starting to get, at least on the Marvel side, like showrunners and show bibles, and hopefully more
Insane that
episodic.
you didn't have that before. Insane. And insane that so many of them turned out not as bad as they could have, you know?
Right, right. I think we just hit 10 shows. I think Agatha was our 10th like Marvel Disney Plus show, which
Well, in just a few years, I guess that is insane.
yeah,
Yeah.
what, they started in 2020, so yeah, it's 5 years, 10 shows. That's not bad. And then this year, what, we have like 5 shows coming out, which is
Oh,
almost a cap. Like, you're almost doubling it, so it's like, it's kind of crazy. Noah in the comment says he wants Mr. Freeze. I agree. He also mentions Kite Man. Hell yeah.
yeah.
Hell yeah. I didn't watch the new Kite Man show yet, but I feel like I
I
probably.
forgot about that. Yeah. I really like Harley Quinn, so
Harley Quinn's
I
fun.
think
Yeah.
that
Yeah. I felt so behind. I stopped at like season 4. And then
Mhm.
so I missed season 4. Kite Man came out. Now there's a new season of Harley Quinn coming out, I think this
Yeah.
month. So it's like, it's a lot.
Yes.
Alrighty. So yeah, I don't have much else to say on this. It was kind of a slow news week. There wasn't a lot of these like big, heavy hitter kind of things to talk about.
Mhm.
So that being said, I think we're gonna kind of dive into our kind of mainstream Disney discussion here. Again, I think before we dive in, I do think this year has kind of been an interesting one for Disney as a whole. I feel like, again, we're still in kind of that transition thing from Bob Iger. There's been a lot of get things back in the cinemas. There's been fixing up Disney Plus, fixing up, everything kind of in that regard.
Mhm.
And it's been a big, like, sequel-y year, I feel like. It's been a lot of sequels, a lot of reboots. There wasn't any, like, original thing this year, unfortunately, from them.
Yeah.
Which,
Oh my gosh. Wait. Even counting Marvel? Question mark. Am I forgetting something? Wasn't it
no,
just Deadpool and Wolverine?
I mean,
Theoretically?
for movies, yeah. And
Yeah.
then for shows, they had Agatha, they had X-Men, which was fantastic.
Right.
What If, which
Yeah.
I don't need to dive into What If, but I I guess Star Wars was probably the most original this year because they had Skeleton Crew and Acolyte,
My
which
Precious Babies, which I love to death. Both of those shows I would die for.
Yes, absolutely. Which, oh, man, I don't even want to talk on the fan base for those shows. Oh man,
Well, at least Skeleton Crew's been kind of tame. Like I don't hear nearly as many people complaining.
Yeah,
But
I hope I get to season 2. I need.
I'm manifesting. Although last time that didn't work, so.
Yeah, like after the whole Acolyte thing, and just like, you know, I liked the show. I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. I was kind of there in middle of the road with it. But I was like, after the fan base during that show, I was like, I don't know if I want to watch more Star Wars. Like I just hated the fan base surrounding that show. I thought that was ridiculous. So I'm glad this one's better. It seems to be like, okay, people accepting something new for once, which is nice.
Right.
But yeah, our first mainstream thing that had kind of come out in 2024, which was one of my most anticipated at kind of the top of the year. It broke box office records. It was this huge event thing, was Inside Out 2, which is obviously Pixar's newest adventure, kind of the first sequel in quite a long time, actually. I feel like we went through an era of kind of getting back to like original properties and stuff like that, which was very refreshing in my opinion.
Yes.
We were originally going to do the episode on Inside Out 2 back in June, but obviously for reasons it couldn't work out. So kind of nice. We kind of get to still have that conversation here a little bit. What was your kind of opinion on Inside Out 2?
I wish I had, especially given the extra amount of time between when we were going to do the video, I wish I'd watched it again. I've still only seen it once.
Okay.
But that also means I've just had time to like ruminate on my thoughts, and like I think if we had done it so soon, I wouldn't have realized how big it was, because it was big initially, but I feel like its lifespan stretched really far. Like, I mean, it was huge. What was the actual like final? Wasn't it like the highest grossing animated film ever?
It is, yeah. No other animated film has made more than this movie.
I'm happy for it, but it doesn't make sense.
It's crazy. Yeah, it is weird because again, like we're, you know, I think, you know, we're in our early 20s now and stuff like that, and like now again, like we're talking about before, this is baiting on our nostalgia. Kids who grew up on this movie. I was like 10 or something when this movie came out. Now you know, our peers have kids, and you know, we're feeling, oh, I watched this in theaters back in 2015, so I'm gonna go watch that. So it's like, it's crazy, and I think it kind of markets to a lot of different kind of generations at this point, and kind of when it came out. But it's, you know, I'm curious about kind of like the repercussions of this, because I think it's good to. I still count this as like an original animated movie. Like I think that's still very good. Yeah. But it's also a sequel, so it's like, what would Disney's response to be to that? Is it more sequels, even more sequels, and more sequels, or to let Pixar kind of cook and what they're doing or whatever?
Yeah, I think I mean, you would hope they would learn the right lessons from it, because it is a really good sequel. But to them, I'm scared the only thing they're going to see is that it was a sequel. But so far, Pixar's I don't want to say quality control, but like, there's not a Pixar movie that I really hate.
I agree.
Or even really dislike. Like, even some days I get down with The Good Dinosaur, you know. But yeah, anyway, I love Inside Out 2 a lot. I still, this many months later, cannot decide if I like it more than the original. It's really hard to say. It's really hard to say, I think. But anyway, I love it, is my conclusion. I guess I don't have to overthink it more than that.
No, 100%. No, it's good. It's good. Like, again, I think Pixar, like, I'm with you. I think Pixar is the greatest studio, one of the greatest studios of all time. I don't think they've ever had a bad movie, just some mid ones here and there.
Exactly.
But I will say their sequel track record isn't as great as I sometimes want it to be. You know, I like some, I dislike others. Like, I feel like outside of Toy Story, like a lot of them are kind of like, you know, that was okay. So I think to have a movie come out and be like, no, I think this is pretty on par to the original, to some people better than the original. I think that's really cool.
For sure.
And I also just think, like, and I bet, you know, our parents were kind of dealing with this when the first one came out, but it's like, first one came out when we were kids. This one is now we're adults, and I feel like I definitely like grab onto its ideas and themes a lot more this time around, where it's like, oh, okay, now it kind of relates to me. Like, it's a movie about like a teenager, but I think its themes go way beyond that.
For sure.
It has one of my like favorite quotes of the year. It's like my favorite scenes of the year, where it's like when Joy's kind of having her like midlife crisis throughout this movie, and it's like, maybe growing up means you just feel less joy, and it's like, oh man, that is way too close to home. I don't like that at all.
And then when I don't even remember what I was gonna say. Just like the climax of the movie, just I can't even talk about it. I'll start crying. Yeah. Anyway. Good movie.
You very good movie. You're feeling all that joy from the movie. No, I 100% agree. Like that, I somehow got what you're trying to say. That like that scene when she's like, "No, I think she wants you," and just like
that's exactly what I was gonna say.
They're like, she gets to have that hug with Joy, and it's like, no, bawl my eyes out. And I saw it twice in cinemas, and I like bawled my eyes out both times. And I think Inside Out just kind of has that effect where we'll talk about this in a bit, but like last night I watched the sequel, or not sequel, but the like spin-off series they made.
I haven't watched that.
Okay. But no, like that, like there's,
but yeah,
like there's a scene in that show that was like I started to like tear up, and I was like, I don't know, I don't know how, like what sauce like you know the like Inside Out team is cooking when but they're cooking something. They're doing something there. No, that's crazy. You know, I love its themes. I love the like time jump with Riley. I love kind of where they take certain characters. Like again, like I think it's very easy to like just do the same thing with this one, and I've heard that criticism thrown around with this one. There's some ways where I'm like, yeah, okay, maybe you could have tightened this up, but I really like how they focus the direction from joy and sadness to joy and anger. I think anger is one of like the MVPs of this movie.
True.
He's like, I feel like he's kind of like the heart of it in a way, where it's like their dynamic, or like I feel like there's not a huge difference between joy and anger. Like I feel like those two emotions can come very together. And you can't really have anger without a sense of joy. I feel like you know they're very intertwined. So I think making them friends and kind of like their back and forth, and his speech to her was like, okay, this is really great. What did you think of all of the like new emotions inside this one?
I love them. Obviously, anxiety MVP. However, I love envy so much. And I tend to forget about embarrassment and ennui, but I love them. I mean, they have pretty subtle roles, but I guess that kind of fits both of their characters. So,
right.
I thought it was really sweet, the relationship between embarrassment and sadness. And also, I was going to say, like, the ways in which you can tell that joy and sadness are friends now, and, like, how much more respect she has for sadness. Like, the way that carried over. I mean, I'm glad, like, if it didn't, that would be, like, a plot hole, but I don't know what I was getting at. The point is I like that.
No, for sure. Yeah. And there's like, I think there's a really good story about like acceptance that I think carries on from the last one very well, because I think the last one was about like her realizing, oh, no, you do need sadness, but I think this one is really accepting it. It being like, oh, okay, I can't be the only emotion, but then also being like, but you're also still important. She still needs you. Like, don't go anywhere. You are also important, which I think is really nice. And I love the new emotions. I think they're great. Ennui's definitely the one where I'm like, I wanted a little bit more from you, but besides that, like they're really fun. I'm curious how they're implemented. If they do a third from the success of this one, I'd be very shocked if they don't do a third.
Right.
So like, how do you balance like 10 emotions in the studio? I assume you might want to introduce new ones even further then. So it's like,
I would caution them to introduce more than 2. I think if 2, it's done for.
It's a lot. It's a lot. Or or introduce ones that maybe don't stay, or like, you know,
Right.
kind of like nostalgia, where it's like, okay, just go.
Yeah.
You don't have to stay here. You can go or
I
whatever.
I mean, maybe Riley is just built different, but, like, when they were, like, telling nostalgia to go away and come back later, I'm like, nostalgia's been in my headquarters since I was, like, 3, so but that's probably just a skill issue on my part.
No, like I mean, 2020, I think fucked us all up. Where
Literally,
it's like,
literally.
we, I'm nostalgic for like last week. Like
Yeah,
it's
me too.
that's the vibe actually.
Yeah.
Okay, this next one, we don't have to talk about this too long. I'm not sure if you watched this one or
Mhm.
if you're a fan of this franchise, so no worries if you're not. They gave us a new Descendants movie this year. Are
Mhm.
you a fan of that franchise at all?
From afar, and
Okay.
I was just thinking the other day, I was like, "I think I could get down with that," because,
Mhm.
like, I watch a lot of Disney Channel stuff, and
Mhm.
sometimes it requires, like, remembering that it's Disney Channel and therefore adjusting my
Right.
quality expectations. Not that it's bad, but it's just, like,
Mhm.
dialogue for a Disney Channel show is written in such a different
Right.
way, like but it's different because it's obviously a Disney Channel movie, although not even Disney Channel anymore, so but anyway, I've seen the first movie a long time
Mhm.
ago, I really liked it, but
Sure.
yeah, I've heard I think a lot of people liked this new one if I remember, but maybe
Yeah. I mean, yeah, no, I think it was definitely very interesting because this was one of the first like Disney Channel movies that's not a Disney Channel movie. It's that switch to just Disney movie where they could just put it on Disney Plus
right.
instead of having to
Mhm.
do Disney Channel. Which that kind of makes me sad. I'm like, oh, that's an
Yeah.
era that's over now. That's kind of sad.
Mhm.
Um, you know what? I did really like this one. Not just I'm not going to spoil nothing, just in case you ever want to hop
Okay.
into these, but I do like that this one feels a little bit more mature, which is kind of what I wanted
That part.
from this franchise, where it's like the original trilogy for kids, that's all fun and dandy, but like when continuing, it's like all those fans are now grown up. Are you
Yeah.
going to? We'll talk a little bit about this with our next one too, but like, are you going to age up with your audience, or are you going to kind of keep
Mhm.
it with the younger audience? I think they do a little bit of both, where they're like legitimately kind of dark scenes in here. Like there are scenes that imply death and trauma
Mhm.
for some of these characters that are really, really cool. And it's like,
Mhm.
okay, this is a fun kind of expansion on what you kind of already established in this world.
Mhm.
The issue that I have personally, and again, we don't have to stick on this too long, there isn't really a third act, unfortunately. It like
Mhm.
has a really good first act, a solid second half. You're
Is
like,
it like
okay, I'm getting down with this,
a
and
cliffhanger?
then it ends. It just ends. The movie ends.
Hmm.
It's like an entire chunk of the movie's gone, and it's like, okay, it's time. We're wrapping up the movie now, and it's like, no, no,
Huh.
no. Where's all these plot lines you've set up? Where's the end of the movie? Like
Mhm.
you're gearing up to make one of the best, like one of the best ones out of the four, and it
Yeah.
kind of just cuts. It just ends, and
Huh.
they're already making a sequel to this one, and it's probably going to be like like a new trilogy, if you will.
Mhm.
So maybe that's the idea. It's like, oh, we'll pick it up in the second one. It's
Yeah.
fine, but yeah, no, I mean, I would recommend it. Just from
Mhm.
from what I know about your interests and like
Yeah.
Disney Infinity and stuff like that, like where all the Disney
Oh,
characters live
oh,
together.
oh.
I feel like you might like it.
Yeah. I think I definitely would.
Yeah, they're fun. They're fun. Okay, this one's kind of in like the same realm of
Mhm.
thing. It's still kind of Disney Channel, but I think you watched this one. I'm not too sure.
Mhm.
Wizards Beyond Waverly Place, which is like the sequel series to the classic show. This is another one where it's like a show from our childhood getting rebooted, which is like, oh
Mhm.
my gosh, that's a weird feeling. I don't know how I feel about that. Have you seen this one?
Yes, I turned it off. I don't know if it was a bad day. It might have been
Okay.
I might have been having a bad day,
Okay.
but I was not able to turn off my or to recontextualize the Disney Channel dialogue, and
Hmm.
I was like, "I can't take this. It's hurting me how not funny it was."
Hmm.
Like, b and then I could easily, like, siphon that into complaining about, like, "Oh, this isn't as good as the original," but then part of me is like, "Was the original only ever this good?" But I think it was just me. I think it was just the day.
Hmm.
I like the concept of it. I
Right.
like the idea of it being back, and I do love the original series so much. So, like, I'm not opposed to watching it further, but that is all that I saw.
No, that's fair. That's completely fair. I had like very mixed emotion. Like I had very mixed feelings when I kind of walked out of this one because
Mm,
I think they dropped the first like was it 10 episodes? I think they dropped.
yeah,
I kind of went through them. I'm like, okay, I love the original. I was
mm,
also rewatching the original in recent like
yeah,
thing, and like it was kind of really pissing me off for like some people that were watching it, where it's like, oh, why is it so much worse than the first show? I was like, no, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. Actually, it's weird how similar they are in quality. You just don't remember how bad it was when you were a kid.
Yeah.
Which I have two brains where like my one brain is like, this is for kids are going to enjoy this, like I enjoyed it, whatever.
Yeah.
But then the second part of my brain where it's like, but don't they deserve better?
Right.
Like after 20 years.
I think both can be true.
Yeah, it's like after 20 years, you stopped trying to improve the formula of how you made your Disney Channel shows.
Right.
And I think that's a little sad in some ways. And I know Disney Channel's in a weird spot. We don't know like how long they're going to be a thing with Disney Plus now and, you know, being a thing and stuff like that. But I would like to see the show kind of like evolve with the audience a little bit, take itself more. Again, I think the original show, like when it gets serious, it's serious. Like they had some really deep episodes and, you know, very emotional things. And I do hope they can kind of, I don't know, dive more into that kind of stuff, I guess, in kind of the future. Alrighty. Okay, so this is the big one. This was, I guess, the other kind of big Disney sequel of 2024, which was Moana 2. Now this was very big too because it was supposed to be a TV show for Disney Plus, where they kind of talked about Disney Plus a little bit there. I was like they kind of announced a lot of these projects at once, whereas like Moana 2, the Tiana series, which you still haven't seen, Zootopia Plus, Baymax, the series they kind of had. So it was that kind of launch of stuff. First of all, I mean, were you excited for this to be a TV show? What was your kind of reactions when we heard it was a movie instead of a show?
Well, when it was first announced, like the movie, I wasn't for sure whether or not, I think people were kind of, it wasn't really clarified whether or not it was going to be the show rebuilt or if it was going to be something new. So I was kind of hoping that they both would happen. But anyway, in the months leading up to Moana 2, I was pretty excited. I don't know if excited's the word, but because most of the trailers, I was like, this seems very similar to the original. Like, this seems like we're not really doing much different. I'm happy to say that wasn't exactly the case, but I'm also disappointed to say that it kind of was. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, no, I think like it was a really weird time because they had like months prior to this they announced the like live action Moana, which like out of all the live action stuff, that's the one I'm like, no, actually, I don't want that. I think that's my line with these live action reboots. It's like if the current franchise is still going on,
literally,
like Moana and Frozen, don't reboot it. Don't keep it going. I'm kind of even in the camp with Tangled, where I'm like, Zachary Levi, don't cast him in anything you do going forward, but just do a Tangled too. I would much prefer that over like a live action Tangled. But like when that was announced, I had said, hey, like our TV show is still happening. Don't you worry, we're still gonna make it. And I will say, like Bob Iger, I'm not gonna say anything specific about the man. As a business decision, probably one of the best decisions he's made under Disney, because he made a TV show into almost $1 billion movie. It's an insane decision. Like that was a great call on him. I did want more from this movie, unfortunately. I love that original movie. It's like my top 4 Disney movies of all time. It's the movie that got me back into Disney after kind of like falling off a little bit. Like I saw that movie in theaters. I was like, oh, that's my personality for the next 5 years. This is incredible. So I don't know. It felt to me very cookie cutter, very like, okay, kind of get the gist. You can tell. Some people haven't been able to. I've at least been able to be like, I think this feels like a TV show still. Like you can kind of.
I think it's somewhere in, but I think I wish it felt more like a TV show, because then I think we would have more exploration. I do not hate this movie by any means.
No.
I would even say I like it. I just think it throws a decent, well, I was gonna say it throws a lot at the wall that it doesn't act on, but it doesn't. It's not even throwing much at the wall. It's kind of just like, I don't know. I think the one witch lady was underutilized. She was in it for
Yeah.
like, if it was a show, she would have gotten an episode. I
Right.
liked the gang that was with Moana, but also they felt like just random people. But I guess that was kind of the point. I liked seeing the Kakamora again.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
one blob thing was, it was a choice. It was a choice. People were laughing in the theater, so I guess that's all that matters. Maybe I'm
Right.
not the target audience, but and I think
Right.
the soundtrack was not nearly as bad as people said, but it was
Sure.
obviously not as good as the original.
Right. Yeah, no, for sure. It's tough because like what they had said that like the only differences between the show and the movie was that the
Mhm,
movie was more Moana focused. So it
mhm,
makes sense to me that a
right,
lot of the development for these villains and these new side characters were probably drastically cut in to
true.
fit into a movie's runtime, which I can't completely blame them because again, like they made the right choice in terms of like as a
Right.
studio wanting to. It makes perfect sense why they wanted to make this a movie, but
Yeah.
also I would have liked to have seen what this looked like as a show, and I think
Mhm.
maybe it probably would have been better. It probably would have been
I
fit.
wish we lived in a world where they both existed. I think, or well, that would require the second one being entirely different. I guess, like, conceptually, I wish there was a Moana 2 that was just more of a sequel and less of a, I don't even know how to feel about this movie because I
Right,
really don't dislike it, but I obviously don't
right.
love it. So it's just in a really weird spot.
Yeah, yeah. I wish we were living in a world where you could have they could have started out. Okay, this is a movie. We are making a sequel
Right.
to Moana.
That kinda made
Um,
that would have made more sense from the beginning, honestly.
right. And
But
like with how it ended, I would be very shocked if they also don't get a sequel, if they don't get a third with how it
mhm.
ended. It's like, okay, they very clearly want to
After
set up
credit
something
scene, sure. What the
very
heck?
jarring.
Sure.
It's like, I don't know these characters. All right.
Yeah.
I guess give them a sequel, I guess. Um yeah, it's interesting. I will say like I liked the third act a lot. Like I think the third act
I
really
agree.
worked, but there wasn't like the
Honestly,
foundation to
kinda the first as well. It was mainly the second that
the second act is yeah, where
I
it
wouldn't
falls
even say it
apart.
was bad, but, like, it just felt like nothing was happening.
It's yeah, it's very cookie cutter. It's like, okay, then
Yeah,
they go here. Okay, then they go here,
right.
and then they go here. And like the third act isn't like low key incredible. Like I think they
No,
do
yeah.
some really good things there.
Mhm.
There are the stakes. Like you don't know if she's gonna live or die. She gets this new
Yeah.
power. And it's like this is really good stuff. But I
Mhm.
wish they built up to that. Like I wish the first two acts had the themes and like the foundation to build up to that fantastic ending. And I'm
Mhm.
wondering if that third act is what they really did after the announcement. And that's where like,
Right.
okay, we need a big third act finish to
I'm
do
excited to
whatever.
rewatch it.
Yeah.
Like, knowing where it's going to
Mm,
watch it from the beginning, I think would, yeah, I think it's important to understand how I actually feel about it.
right. Right. For sure. For sure. And yeah, like I think the songs are like I've liked them better now that I've kind of re-listened to
Yeah,
them a couple
for sure.
times. Because like while I'm there, I'm like this does not working for me. These are
Mhm.
whatever. Like yeah, I wasn't, but like I think the more I've listened to, 'em, I'm like okay, these aren't that bad. They're
Mhm.
just not the original. And I think especially with Mufasa this year, which we can talk about in a
Yeah,
second, where it's like, oh, that's where the songs went. They went to that
exactly.
movie
Literally, yeah.
instead. So it's definitely missing that kind of that oomph. I guess I kind of wanted from them.
For sure.
Um, okay, so these next two, I'm not sure if you've seen these next two. So
Mhm.
obviously, no big deal whatsoever. There was the Inside Out
Mhm.
kind of sequel. I almost hate calling it a show because it's like it's not really. It's less than 2 hours with all the episodes
Oh, really?
combined.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like it's shorter than the Inside Out 2 movie, I'm pretty sure,
Right.
which is
Mhm.
so more of like an event or like a
Yeah.
special or whatever you want to call it. But
Mhm.
I wasn't really sure what to expect from this one because I was like, again, I felt like it was kind of burned a little bit from like the Disney Plus stuff that they were kind of putting out. Like
Yeah.
the car show was fun, but it was short, and the Zootopia one was fun but short. Like they've all kind of felt like shorts up until this
Yes.
point. Monsters at Work was fun, but like I didn't think it was
Mhm.
anything like mind blowing. Like yeah, that was fun. It was a fun little show. Um, I was very impressed with this one though. I kind of couldn't believe it. Kind of felt like you're watching a Pixar movie, like a new
I'm
movie.
excited to watch it. Yeah.
I think you're really gonna like it.
Yeah.
It kind of felt like they made a Inside Out movie, like a spin-off movie. You could have put this thing in theaters for the most part, tightened it up, obviously, like some slight changes, but they have some really powerful themes of like identity, and it's kind of like this office workplace comedy with how it's formulated. And just like the first Inside Out movies, they have a lot of fun with like exploring that world of like what these sleep things mean to their worlds, like sleepwalking and like elusive dreaming and all these kind of ideas that they kind of put in there. And it's this like film world. Like, again, I love film, so it's like it's this film world within the dreams that they create, and they have a lot of fun with that. And these characters are a lot of fun. They're very bright, and the final episode, I was like, okay, I don't know how they're going to wrap this up in time. I don't know how they're going to have time for any of this. And it somehow it feels like a complete thing. It doesn't feel like we had to rush it to get finished in their final episode. It's like they needed 4 episodes. That's all they needed, and it worked well, which I almost never say for like modern TV shows. For sure. But no, this is one I would definitely recommend if you have free time, for sure. And then the last one, again, I'm not sure if you've seen this one or not, because at one point I think you said you hadn't, was Mufasa, the new Lion King, the only live action movie, I guess, live action of 2024. Have you seen this one?
I have not. However, I've listened to the album religiously.
Okay.
So so from afar, I've gotten the vibes, but I actually, fun fact, have not even seen the 2019 Lion King. So I guess that's a good starting point. I used to be adamantly opposed to it. Like, that was the one that I chose to hate on. But I've let that go a little bit, and I guess I'll watch it eventually. But I definitely want to watch Mufasa, yeah.
That's fair. I mean, you're better than me, because I hate the 2019 movie with all my all my heart and soul.
I still can. I guess if you have permission, I'll go back on the
No, I mean that's the thing, is like you don't really have to see the 2019 movie, because it's the same note for note, outside of a couple slight changes.
Yeah,
same exact movie. They made the same movie twice, which why I'm so anti, because I do feel like that first movie is so like anti-arts and kind of like not what Disney is all about, in my opinion. Which is kind of why I defended this one for such a long time, because I was like, that announcement at D23 5 years ago is already better than the 2019 movie, in my opinion. Just like Mufasa as a concept is already better than that movie. And like, it was really the first original Lion King story probably since Lion King 2, like in the early 2000s. So it's first time we got one of those in a long time. Original music. Lin obviously came to do the music for it. That was very exciting. He had Barry Jenkins, which is this like award-winning director, on board. So there's a lot of things where I'm like, guys, I think this one might be good. Like, I feel like this one could be cool.
Pause.
I don't know how I feel about it, because I do really like it. Like, actually, I think they do some really, really cool things. I think the actual story they have here is genuinely really good, and I think a lot more people would be into it if it didn't look like this. It's like, even when I'm putting together this poster for today's episode, I'm like, I wouldn't want to go watch this. Like, if I just saw this on a billboard, but that looks it's so boring. It's so
It's not even bad. It's just boring.
It's boring, and I think that's kind of the worst bits of the movie. It's like, you will have good songs going on and a good story, but it's like, it's kind of ugly to look at sometimes. It's not very pleasing, and it looks better than the 2019 movie. Like, they do better with the eyes and kind of how they're designing the characters and stuff like that.
I saw people complaining about it now, that they're moving their mouths more and being more expressive, and I'm like, guys, this is what we asked for. Well, I mean, I guess the real thing we asked for was for it to be
animated.
Yeah, but still, it's better.
Yeah, and it's tough, because I don't know if I would want this to be the same continuity as the original movie, because they
Yeah.
they make big changes to the story that
Mm.
oppose the original movie, which I think helps it, actually, because that's
Yeah.
again, that's kind of what I want from these live action
Like
movies to,
Maleficent.
yes,
Yeah.
change the narrative to create a new story with the IPs that you have. Like, if you have to, you know, do these live action movies and do this stuff, do something different with it. And they do something very different with it. They have a lot of fun. You can tell, like, we were talking about the whole, like, corporate whatever at the tippy top. It feels like the people making this movie genuinely really care about what they're making. And I appreciate that. I think that's really cool. It's fun getting to see these characters from the original movie that you don't really know who they are. Like, you don't, like, you know, on a outside of a surface level, like Rafiki and Zazu and Sarabi, which, like, you really don't know much about those characters outside of a surface level.
And
so
even Mufasa. I mean,
Mufasa,
I feel like he's just a role in that movie, like obviously an important character,
right.
but yeah, I'm very interested.
Yeah, no, like, you definitely dive in. My only critique, I would say, not to spoil it, but
I
there
don't
are
know much about spoilers, so you can say whatever.
And you'll probably know what I mean when I say this, but there are very big elements that you feel rushed, that you know, they have to make big changes to kind of get where you expect the movie to go in the original movie. So they have to push things along, and it's like, that should have taken longer for that thing to happen. And it's like, that should have taken like a couple years for that really to dive into kind of where those characters end up going, where they become. So it's like the like third act, it goes from, okay, they're on the journey, oh, they're there already, okay, they're at the finish line, okay, that's really fast, that's okay, we're there already. So it's interesting for sure. I mean, having not seen either of these movies, do you think they're gonna do more?
I don't think I have to look at the textual movies themselves. I think I have to look at the box office, and well, actually, so how did Mufasa actually turn out at the box office? Because I know it had a very slow start, but I think it picked up.
Yeah, I mean, it's already made back its budget.
Well, that's good.
Let me kind of look at the box office right now, because it started off like everyone's like, "Oh my gosh, it's beating Sonic," or, you know, it's losing to Sonic.
Right.
But now it's like, I think it's number one at the box office right now. So it has a budget of $200 million. Right now, it's reached $246 million in the box office, the U.S. box office. So I think it's possible.
I don't know. It's you really never know with Disney, but I could see it. But what would it be? Do you think they would go after the events of The Lion King, or
I will say they do some things at the end of this movie where it's like, oh, that could be setting up a Lion King 2.
You mean like, wait, like after The Lion King?
Yes.
Interesting.
But I could also see a world if they were like Mufasa 2. I'd be like, there's potentially
space between.
There's a lot of story. Yeah, there's definitely spaces you can cover with that if you wanted to. But no, yeah, that's came out this year, I guess. It's been an interesting year. I mean, what would you say overall for the year? Like, would you say it's been a good year for them overall?
I think business-wise, undeniably. I think it's been their biggest year since COVID.
2019, yeah.
Right, and 2019 I feel like was huge, and like, I mean, everything they owned was making insane bucks. Like, that was Endgame, right?
Endgame and
Story 4.
Lion King and Aladdin and Captain Marvel. Yeah.
Oh, the thumbs up. Yeah. Oh. But yeah, I think I do wish there was more original stuff this year. Even if I liked almost everything to a certain degree and loved a couple things, I think I'm very excited for some of the more original stuff this year. I'm very excited for Elio.
Yes.
I'm trying to remember, like, well, anyway, I'm jumping ahead to this year. I think it was a good year overall. I wouldn't say a great year creatively, but definitely pretty consistent, honestly.
Yeah.
I think, and even stretching into like Marvel and Star Wars and stuff, like actually I think for both of those properties I probably found them to be higher quality this year than Disney
Yeah.
itself. Um a lot of people would disagree with me on that, but yeah, I think it was a consistent year. I think the best word I can use to describe the year for Disney was solid. I think
Solid.
that's just
Yeah.
maybe a little above solid, but somewhere in that ballpark.
Yeah. I 100% agree. Like, I think box office wise, they
Yeah.
were probably swimming in that cash with like Moana 2 is about to hit $1 billion. You know, obviously, I mean, yeah, Moana 2 almost is about to hit $1 billion. Inside Out 2, but I think they hit 2 billion. No, $1 billion.
A
I don't know, something. They made a lot of money.
a lot.
Yeah, a lot of money. Obviously, Deadpool made $1 billion. It's like Mufasa, not near that much, but still, I think a success for them.
Yeah.
And then looking ahead to next year, I think it's kind of interesting because there are a lot of sequels and reboots ahead.
Right. Always.
But I think Elio's going to help because I think Elio looks fantastic. I am so excited for more like original Pixar. That's always my cup of tea. I love them. That looks again. I think it could go either way, but I think that's going to do well for them.
Yeah.
We have 2 live action movies next year. One with Stitch. One with Snow White. Which we already kind of talked about Stitch and kind of our feelings on that. It's hard because we don't have an official trailer yet, so we don't know kind of what the landscape is yet. I am afraid it's just going to be like Lilo and Stitch again, just like the same movie, just again. So that's my worry with that one. But Snow White, I think, is going to be a fascinating one because
there is so much like, what's the word? Just like vitriol people have for Snow White. The hate against Rachel Zegler makes me want to like pick up a pitchfork or something, and not towards Rachel Zegler, because like, oh my god. Yeah. However, I also very strongly dislike Gal Gadot. Like, even removing her political opinions, which are terrible, removing that, I've never really liked her. And Evil Queen is one of my favorite Disney villains. So you'd think I would hate that casting, but it almost makes me like it more because it's like, now I can really hate you. So, but also, it doesn't look like a compelling performance. But her aside, I think the recent trailer sold me a lot more than, and I think I might be the outlier. I think a lot of people, well, that's the thing with these Disney remakes, is no matter how many people complain, they still make a lot of money. So I think it'll do well. Although there is all the anti-woke stuff going on that for some reason they've chosen to target this movie for. So I don't know, but I still think it'll make a lot of money. And between Rachel Zegler, it being a unique take, and Mark Webb, who I have loved all of his, well, I don't want to say all of his work. The 3 things of his I've seen, I've loved a lot. I think cautiously optimistic is, again, the word, which is honestly the best thing I can be towards a Disney remake before it comes out.
Right. No, I mean, it's interesting because I agree. Gal, not my biggest fan. I don't love Gal. I don't know how I feel about the look of the dwarf yet. That
it's so complicated because I'm like, I don't love it, but I also don't know what the better way to do it would be.
Oh man, this is the conversation I've had a lot where it's like, I wish I could ask that community. Like, I wish there could be, like, because it's like, I understand that point of view where it's like, oh yeah, it's disrespectful, but it's like, but also you've taken away jobs from people that could have really benefited from that exposure.
I think it is difficult. Again, this is not, I'm not in that community, so I can't. It's not most important, but I understand both sides because I also understand like they don't want to be mystified or turned into like they are magical creatures type thing, which is what the dwarves in this story really are, kind of. I guess not really. I guess they're just kind of chilling and doing work. So it is a very complicated thing. That again, I understand both perspectives of.
Yeah, I'm curious what the conversation is going to become March when the movie's kind of coming out, and opinions or all those kind of fun things. But I agree with you. I love Rachel Zegler. I don't know if you've listened to her like covers on the internet and stuff like that, but like her song, it takes you to another place. So like
Story.
Oh, it's so good. I will always praise that woman. I cannot believe, I don't want to call it luck because it's not luck. Obviously, she has so much talent. But like her first movie ever, the first movie she's ever been in, West Side Story, one of the most famous directors of all time, gets nominated for an Oscar, right? So it's like, what crazy, not luck because she's talented, but like also a little bit of luck. Like that's crazy. And then like Shazam and Snow White and all these big movies. Just I think she's great. I think she's getting original songs in this movie, which is very exciting to me. Original stuff from the original movie. Like she has this whole new subplot of like her being a hero and like her taking things in her own hands, which is what I want. I want more original stories in these movies. So
exactly.
Very excited for that. We have Zootopia 2 this year as well, which is another sequel, but yeah, I'm excited for that one. I've said for a while, I think like out of all the Disney movies, I think Zootopia is best fit for sequels. Like you could do you could do 10 of these and it makes sense because of how that movie is formulated. It could be like Disney's Knives Out, if you will, where it's like a new mystery every movie.
Yeah. I'm very interested to see how, because the first one is so political. Well, it's tastefully political, or it's like political on the down low type thing. I'm interested to see if that is in any way going to change the way that they treat that aspect of. I've heard some murmurings about Nick and Judy being more of like detectives as opposed to like police officers, and which is kind of already what they were, but yeah, I'm interested to see how they do that. And
that's something.
What the plot is, because we really don't know anything, do we? I mean, other than the new character.
Yeah, new character. I think they're in like a new location of like Zootopia, which is exciting because like that world is so massive. Like there's so much lore to that world we haven't touched on. So that's fun for sure. But no, you make a really good point where it's like, not to get political, but like the 2016 when that movie came out, the like general perception of like police officers is different now. Like it's a different landscape. So I am curious if they're going to touch on that at all. I would actually kind of dig it if they were like, this is a problem that the world has, and how can we obviously not go too heavy-handed with it, but make a narrative somewhere in there to address it or whatever. We have some shows as well. I mean, obviously Phineas and Ferb, kind of a different thing, but I cannot be more excited for that. That's exciting. Win and Lose I was excited about, and I still
am. Somehow I still am, but it's gonna sting a little now. This might be what the kids on the internet call cope, but I still have, not to rhyme, but I still have hope that somehow they put it back in. Again, most definitely cope. They're not gonna. I mean, when is that targeted for release? Is that like March?
February?
Is it that soon? Oh, maybe not then. Maybe I should give up my hopes. But I don't know. Yeah.
No, I mean that sucks because like I've been excited for that show for a long time. That's been like we've been waiting. Like we heard back in 2022, February 19th. So next month.
Oh my god! Yeah. Maybe. Maybe.
Again, I've been excited for that. I think that's a fantastic concept. I think that concept of that show, incredible. Like that seems to me like so Pixar and so like what I've been wanting from them. Not to get on a political down rot, but like I'm nervous for the next couple years in media and like queer representation. It's
think
scary.
it'll bounce back, even if it gets terrible for 4 years. I mean, it'll come back. I mean, you can't really.
Yeah.
But it's gonna be different, and it's gonna for a while. It's gonna be really not so fun. It's gonna be like this, maybe worse in some cases. But
it's been like it's been like 8 years of Disney being like, it's the first, queer blank and blank and blank. It's like, okay,
little did we know it was the last.
like slowly making our way, and I felt like Strange Worlds was like one of the biggest breakthroughs where it's like, oh my gosh, they're just there. Like that's just who they are, and that's very
perfect.
special.
That's the way to do it.
Right. And then it's like might be a break until we have another, unfortunately.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Do you think Tiana's coming out this year?
No. I mean, we haven't I mean, I want it, but anything besides the name, right? And then didn't some of the plot get funneled into the ride a little bit?
Oh, did it?
I don't know. I mean, the ride, I just rode it for the first time last night.
Ooh, how was it?
Fantastic. It's so wonderful. And it made me want the show more. But I don't know. I feel like we would have seen something at D23 if it was coming out so soon. I hope it's not shelved. I mean, I wouldn't hate. Well, okay.
Yeah.
Don't they better.
I know where you're going with this. Yeah.
Not turn that plot into a movie. If they threw that aside, or not threw that aside, maybe just did both. Maybe I don't know. I think I just want more Princess and the Frog. I think it does work as a franchise, even though so far it's been a solo thing. I think there is room for expansion, especially with like all the magical elements of it.
Right.
So yeah, but I don't think this year's her year.
Yeah, it makes me sad. It's been, again, I actually thought that was like the perfect like extension on that story, because I think I don't know if I'd want a Princess and the Frog 2, because like one of the big complaints was like turning your only like lead black princess into a frog for the whole movie.
Right.
It is a little harmful.
Right. So like to go back to that, but
right. So it's like, okay, making a show, but it's about her and her journey. I think is very cool. But I hope, I'm nervous for it for sure. I'm nervous how it's going to, if it still exists, if it's still out there somewhere, if it's salvageable. We'll see, I guess. But with that being said, we're kind of coming to the end of our episode here. This was an absolute blast. Thank you for being here.
Of course.
I mean, where can people find you?
I at Lillian Bubbles is the username I've transitioned to. Oh, whoa.
I came prepared.
Even my new layout, you put that in. Wow.
I just took the screenshot.
Lillian Bubbles on Twitter and my new YouTube channel as well. So, yeah.
Amazing. Yeah, no, I kind of spent the last kind of 2 hours prepping for this episode, kind of listening to your videos that you've been posting on there, and very inspiring journey. I'm loving watching your journey on there. It's very special. Again, thank you for being here. This was a blast. Any kind of like things that you're kind of been working on that you also want to kind of shout out, or
not much like front facing stuff, like a lot of just like experimenting with writing stuff. However, I'm like really hoping this year to do a lot more actual stuff that I share with people. So yeah, I mean, I guess the YouTube channel is the closest thing to like a public creative thing that I've been doing. So yeah.
Incredible. Well, it's been an absolute honor. Thank you everyone for watching today. We should be back next Thursday. We're doing our I think we're doing our Ben 10 19th anniversary stream. That should be fun. Join me for After the Credits too we're back on Monday, so we're talking this week Skeleton Crew, Creature Commandos. We're catching up on some Doctor Who kind of stuff too, so join me over there. And yeah, without further ado, I will see you guys on the flip side. Bye-bye.